Okay, so this is going to be a short instructional video on how to tackle the calculating taxes questions that you'll find in the calculation part of Level 5 Numeracy. What I hope to do is to work through a question with you so that you can follow along step by step and see for yourself on how you tackle these questions. Let's crack on. Let's meet Tom. Tom's a community care worker and he was paid £30,200 per year before tax in the financial year 2015 to 2016. You've got two questions to work out here, two questions to answer. Question 1, in the financial year, what income tax did Tom pay? So that's the bit where we have to work out his tax bill. And question 2, what is Tom's net monthly pay? Providing your answer to nearest penny. So we're going to work this stuff out. And to do that, we need to look at this information here. And it's really important that we understand what this information is. Because if we don't understand it, we won't use it properly. So let's have a look at that. These tables, and you're given these in the question, these are the framework around which any tax due is calculated. And they're designed to be applied irrespective of gross income or your earnings. It doesn't matter how much you earn. If this is the tax table you're provided with, your tax will be worked out using these tax bands and tax thresholds. So we need to have a look at what these things are. The bit at the top, allowances. It tells us your personal tax-free allowance, and it states the amount of money you're allowed to earn before you start paying tax. Think of it as your tax-free pay. If you only earned £4,600 in the year in total, then you'd not be due to pay any tax because you don't earn enough to pay tax. In other words, you would get that entire £4,600 to yourself in your back pocket. Perfect. Now the reason we need to know that is because we need to take that figure out of any calculations that we're about to do when we work out tax. So the first thing we do in any tax calculation is subtract this personal allowance from the earnings for the year. And this gives us what we call our taxable pay. And that's the figure we need to use to work out the tax that's due. So taxable pay is the part of your pay on which you're taxed. It's this figure that we use to work out any tax due. Now, that's us looked at the allowances, the personal allowance part. We know we take this off of the earnings to work out our taxable pay. But what do we do with taxable pay? Well, taxable pay is taxed potentially at 3 different rates depending on how much you earn. Now, first of all, you've got the basic rate. Now, the basic rate is 10%. And it's 10% which is payable to the government as tax, of the first £7,400 of taxable pay that you earn. Okay? So that's your basic rate. Higher rate is 24% from £7,400 of taxable pay up to £24,400, and additional rate is 40% of any taxable pay over £24,400. Okay? So there's your higher rate and your additional rate. So it's 3 different rates there. And they'll only apply if you earn enough of taxable pay to get into those different tax brackets. So again, the basic rate was 10% of every penny of taxable pay earned up to £7,400. Your higher rate was 24% of every penny of taxable pay over £7,400, but only up to £24,400. And your additional rate is 40% of every penny earned over £24,400. And remember, this is of taxable pay only. So, 3 different tax bands, a couple of thresholds where they change from one tax band to the other. It's all getting a bit confusing. So let's have a wee look at how it actually works. Imagine, if you will, that this pile of coins was your total gross pay, or your earnings for the year. Gross pay and earnings are just the same thing, okay? Now obviously this is ridiculous. You don't get paid with a great big lump of coins like this, but for the purposes of this example, we're going to use this because it makes it easier for me to explain what's going on, and hopefully it'll make it easier for you to understand what's going on. So you've been given a huge bundle of loose change, and this is your total earnings for the year, and you've got to work out your tax bill. Let's look at how we go about doing that. Your first step is to remove so remove from the pile of coins, or we could say subtract from the stack of coins, your personal allowance. Because remember, you don't pay tax on that part of your earnings. You get in your hand all of that personal allowance. So you're now left with a neat stack of coins. This is your taxable pay. This is your neat stack of coins here. So this has got to be taxed. This is your taxable pay. Let's look at how we go about doing that. We need to see how this neat stack of coins stacks up against the 3 tax bands we described earlier. Now hopefully this will make sense to you. What I've done, first of all, notice that I've changed these around. I've flipped them over. So I've now got the basic rate on the bottom, okay, and the higher rate in the middle and the additional rate at the top. And the reason for doing that is because I'm going to use a stack of coins, and I want you to imagine we're stacking up the coins literally in a stack, in a pile of coins up here. Okay, we're going to stack them up to see how that stacks up against these 3 different tax bands. So let's see how it works. Imagine your taxable pay was exactly £7,400. So you've got your earnings, you've taken off your personal allowance, that amount of money's in your back pocket, and just imagine you're left, that stack of coins was exactly £7,400. Well, according to our tax framework here, the first £7,400 of your taxable pay is taxed at 10%. Well, it turns out you have exactly £7,400. So all of this will be taxed at 10%. You don't earn any more than £7,400, so you don't kind of trip over into this tax band here. You don't cross this threshold. You're bang on it, £7,400. Okay? So how do we work out the tax on this £7,400? Well, it's fairly straightforward. You take the £7,400, you divide it by 100 to find 1%, and you multiply it by the rate of tax in this tax band, and in this case it's 10. Now, what we can do now is we can bring up a calculator. I'll just slide it across here so we can see what's going on. 7,400, divide it by 100, and multiply it by 10, and we should find we get an answer of £740. So, if our taxable pay was exactly £7,400, our tax bill would be £740. Fairly straightforward. Okay, what happens though if our taxable pay is more than £7,400? Okay, let's just say now our taxable pay is £19,000. What do we do then? Well, it's fairly straightforward. Okay, we're going to start at the bottom again. So imagine you're stacking up this money, and you keep on stacking, keep on stacking, keep on stacking up to your £19,000. How do we tax it? Well, remember we've got these thresholds. This is the first £7,400. Okay? Right? And if you remember previously, we worked out the tax in this to be 10% of it, which is £740. So that's the tax on that first bit, and that's not going to change. However, we've earned more than £7,400. We've tripped over this threshold, and we're now into this section here. Okay? We're now going to start getting taxed just on this bit at 24%. So whatever's in here is going to be taxed at 24%. We need to work out what's in here. Now, before we do that, we can say one thing for sure. What's in here is not more than 24,400. Remember, the top of this tax band is 24,400. And we don't quite get there because we are at £19,000. Remember that? That is the top of our taxable pay. So we don't earn enough to trip over into the next tax band. We don't reach this threshold. How do we work out then how much money is in this bit? from the £7,400 threshold up to £19,000. Well, it's fairly straightforward. £19,000 take away 7,400 equals, just to be safe again, I'm going to call up the calculator. So let's do that sum. 19,000 take away the 7,400, because remember we've already worked out a tax for that first 7,400. We're not going to work out tax on that again, and it tells us that in here we have got £11,600. so we've got to work out the tax on that. So £11,600, that's how much money is sitting in here. We divide it by 100 to find what 1% is, and then we multiply it by the 24, because in this tax band we're paying tax at 24%. Just to be safe, let's get the calculator up again, and we'll do that sum. So we've got £11,600 in that section. We'll divide it by 100, and we'll multiply it by 24, and we'll find the tax due on this one is, I've lost my pointer, £2,784. So I'll just write that in here, £2,784. That's the tax due. Okay, so we've got £740 tax due on this, £2,784 tax due on this. So our total tax bill will be that plus that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, we had a £19,000 taxable pay. We've taxed the first £7,400 of it at 10%. We worked that out in the previous example. We knew that was £740. We knew that. But we have another £11,600 of earnings to take into account, because we earn a total of taxable pay of £19,000. So that next £11,600 is all taxed at 24%. Okay, you can probably guess where we're going to go next. Okay, what happens if we earn enough to go up into the next tax band? If we cross this next threshold and enter the next tax band, well, hopefully you can see it's just going to keep on building. So let's have a look at that. Okay, you may earn enough that your taxable pay takes you into additional rate tax band. So let's imagine that our taxable pay, remember this is after we've taken off our personal allowance right at the start of the process, let's imagine our taxable pay is £25,000. There you go, £25,000. We've got to work out our tax on this. Now, if we start at the bottom here and we work our way up until we get to £7,400, that's us reached that threshold there. So this is the first £7,400, and we know, because we've worked this out already, the tax due is £740. We worked that out 2 slides ago. Now, this changes slightly, okay? Once we get to this line here, okay, because remember this tax band is from the £7,400 up to £24,400, and this whole section here gets taxed at 24%. So how do we work it out? Well, it's fairly straightforward. 24,400 is here, 7,400 is there. What's the difference between those two numbers? And whenever we're looking to find the difference between two numbers, what we're looking to do then is to take the small number away from the big number. So let's do that. 24,400 take away 7,400, and we find out that this is £17,000. So in this section here we've got £17,000, all of which must be taxed at 24%. So £17,000 divided by 100 to find 1%, and then multiplied by 24, And let's just get the calculator up again. There we go. So £17,000 divided by 100 gives us 1%, but we don't want 1%, we want 24%. £4,080. So the tax due on that middle section, on the higher rate tax band, is £4,080. Tax due. Now I'm deliberately writing tax due, so remember that this is the tax due in that one, and this is the tax due in that one, but we're not finished. Because look, we've still got some money left to tax, and remember, every penny we earn has to be taxed, okay? So we've worked out our tax on the first 7,400, we've kept stacking our money up there, and we've reached £24,400, but we earn more than £24,400. We've tripped over this threshold and we're into the additional rate now. And in this additional rate, 40% of everything that you earn is taxed in this section here. Okay, I beg your pardon. Everything that you earn is taxed at 40%. I got my words wrong there. So we need to work out how much money is in this section, and then we need to tax it at 40%. Okay, so again we need to find the difference between these two numbers. Okay, our taxable pay of £25,000 and this threshold £24,400, because we've worked out the tax up to that point, we just need to work out everything beyond it. So if we do I'll try that again. If we do 25,000, take away 24,400, we will find out that we've still got £600 left to tax. Okay, and 40% of that £600 will go to the government as tax. So we've got to work out 40% of £600. 600 divided by 100 to find 1%, multiplied by 40 equals, and as you know, I like to do it in the calculator just so I know I'm getting everything right. 600 divided by 100 multiplied by 40 is £240. Okay, so the tax bill on this top section is £240. 240, and that's the tax due here. Okay, so we've now worked out, we've taken into account all of our money, all £25,000 of our taxable pay, and we've taxed it according to the tax framework that we've got here. The first £7,400 are taxed at 10%, and that's what's due. Oh, I forgot my pound sign, very important. The middle section here, this middle £17,000, which is everything from 7,400 up to 24,400, remember that's what's described here. Okay, get these figures from this. That entire £17,000 is taxed at 24%, and that works out at £4,080. And in the last bit, the remaining £600 that we've still got to pay tax on, that's taxed at 40%. We've done the sum and worked out that is £240. So what we need to do now then is to work out exactly what the total tax due is. And to do that is fairly straightforward. We just add all these numbers together. So let's add them together. Oh, hang on. That's the next slide. I'll go back a bit. Let's add them together, okay? And again, we're on the calculator. Nice and straightforward. £240. That's this bit here. That's the tax due at the additional rate. And we'll add that to the £4,080 that was due from the tax due at the higher rate. And we'll add on to that the £740, which is the tax due at the basic rate. Add all those together and we get a total tax bill of £5,060. So that is our total tax bill. That is the tax that we would pay. Okay? Now remember, this isn't the question we started off with. This isn't Tom, the community care worker. This is just an example we've looked at just to look at how the whole thing works. So our total tax bill is £5,060. Okay. Now hopefully that's made sense to you, but if not, you can always rewind the video and watch this bit again, but all we've done is we've taken each section of the cash and we've taxed it according to this band here, the tax bands. Okay, they have all the information you need in them. So, you got a wee sneaky peek of this earlier. Just for fun then, what I'd like you to do in a minute is to pause this video and have a go at doing this question yourself, okay? I want to imagine you've got a taxable pay of £27,000, so it's taxable pay, you're going to tax all of this, you've already taken off your personal allowance. Your taxable pay is £27,000, and I want you to tax it according to the same tax framework that we've been using before. So 10% of the first £7,400, 24% of the middle chunk, and then 40% of anything above £24,400 will be taxed at 40%. So have a go yourself. Just to give you a quick look at this again, that's how we tackled this question here. You're going to have a go at this question yourself. And to do that, you're going to press pause. So press pause now. Okay, right, so we're back. Hopefully you've had a good go at this question then, and we're going to work through it together now to see if you found the same answers, okay? So here's your stack of money, and your stack of money is your taxable pay, which is £27,000. Alright, squeeze a pound sign in there. £27,000, and we've got to tax this. Now, we know from the example we've done before that the first £7,400 is taxed at 10%. So, if we can imagine that's here, there's your first £7,400, and that is all going to be taxed at 10%. Now, we've worked this out before. We know that 10% of £7,400 is £740, so I'm not going to go through the numeracy for that again. Okay, we know it's £740 tax due on that first chunk. Excellent. We now come to the middle section here, the high rate of tax pay, and this line is the 24,400 threshold. Okay, we need to work out how much money we've got in this section, and again, we've done that in the previous example. This is all taxed at 24%, and it was 11,000. No, it wasn't. It was £17,000 was in this section here. Okay, so I'll just do this sum again because I can't actually remember what the answer was. 17,000 divided by 100 multiplied by 24. Let's get the calculator up again. There we go. So 17,000 divided by 100 multiplied by 24 is £4,080, and that's right, I remember that from last time now. So we know the tax due here is £4,080. Perfect, that's tax due there. And you remember these are the two figures that we had in the previous example as well, and that's perfectly okay. Had I remembered this was £4,080, I would have just written it down, but I couldn't remember, so I had to do the sum again. Okay, but we're not finished, because as in the previous example, we earn more than this £24,400, so we've kind of tripped up and went into this next section here. And we need to work out how much money's in here before we can work out how much to tax is due on it. So if you can remember, we've done the 27,000, that was our taxable pay top line, minus this 24,400, and that'll tell us how much money we've got in here. So we'll just run the calculator, and we shall do that sum. £27,000 minus £24,400, that's the threshold before, and we find out that we've got £2,600 still to pay tax on. Okay, and we know that that £2,600 is taxed at 40%. So again, let me just get my calculator up. Easier said than done. There you go. 2,600. Divide that by 100. Multiply it by 40, because that's the percentage we actually want. And it's £1,040. So the tax due in this section is £1,040. Okay, so £1,040. I'll just try and squeeze tax due in here. It's really important to write these things in, because if you don't write them, you just end up with this list of numbers, whereas if you've written tax due and underscored things, you can see exactly what you're doing. So we now have our three tax figures worked out for this taxable pay. We've got £740 tax due on the first 7,400. We've got £4,080 due on this middle section, which is £17,000. And on the remaining £2,600, we worked out our tax due is £1,040. So all we have to do now is to add it all together to work out what our tax bill is going to be. So it was 1,040. That's this figure here. Add on the 4,080 that we worked out there, and then add on this 740. So our total tax bill is £5,860. Right then, so hopefully that has made sense to you. Okay? And hopefully that's the same answer that you arrived at when you done it yourself. If it is, fantastic. If it's not, it's maybe worth going back and revisiting what we've done so far and making sure that you're clear on what we're talking about when we talk about these thresholds and moving up into the next threshold, and being clear that you're using the right figures in the right places. It's not a tricky question to do from the point of view of the numeracy involved. It's tricky to understand what's actually going on, and that's why I use this stack of coins idea, and that's why I flipped these round. So we're starting with the first 7,400 and then moving up as we stack up our money as we earn it, and hopefully that's a way that makes sense to you. Okay. Oh, I forgot I'd done this. There you go. Right, so back to our question. Tom is a community care worker and was paid £30,200 per year before tax in the financial year. What is his tax bill? What income tax does he pay? And income tax, by the way, is just tax. It's just what we talk about. It's the tax that you pay on your income. And once you've done that, you've also got to work out what his net monthly pay is during the same year. So, and you have to work that out to the nearest penny. So we'll look at what net monthly pay is in a minute. Let's look though at how we actually tackle this. So step one is to subtract his personal allowance from his earnings to find his taxable pay. So let's go back to the question. His earnings are 30,200 and his personal allowance, it's the same one we've been looking at before, is 4,600. So we've got to subtract this from the 30,200 to work out what his taxable pay is. So that's our first step. Let's do that. 30,200 minus 4,600, and we'll load up the calculator and work out what that is. 30,200 minus 4,600, so that's his earnings, take away his personal allowance, tells us he has a taxable pay of £25,600. £25,600, and I'm going to write under here, that is taxable pay. That's the figure we're going to go on to use to work out his taxes. £25,600. We're then going to use the framework that's provided in the question to work out the tax due on that taxable pay. So, I've prepared this one earlier. £25,600 is his taxable pay, and now we have to tax it. So, we're going to work through this one together. Okay, there's his stack of money. This is familiar to you now. You should be familiar with this. And what we've got is the first £7,400. Now, because we're using the same figures as we've used previously, we can actually go ahead and just write these figures in. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to work this one out properly. Okay? So let's just do it step by step. I'm going to do all the sums, all the calculations, as though we're doing this from cold, as though we've never done these figures before. Alright? We know that this figure is £7,400. It tells us that here. Alright? So this is the first £7,400 of Tom's earnings. and it's taxed at 10%. So let's do that sum. £7,400 divided by 100 times 10 equals £740 tax due. Now that's no surprise, we knew that. But for the purposes of this example, I wanted just to work through it so we could see all the steps. Brilliant, so we've done our first wee bit. Now we need to look at this second section, okay? And this line here represents the £24,400, and it takes us from the beginning of the higher rate up to the top of the higher rate. So again, we need to work out how much money is in this section. And again, that's not too difficult to do. Let's just load up the calculator, and if you can remember what we've done last time, we took the 24,400 because that's the upper threshold of the higher tax rate, H, and we'll take off 7,400. And sure enough, not a surprise, we find that this is equal to £17,000. Okay, so I'll just write that in there so don't forget. £17,000, and that £17,000, this whole bit, is taxed at 24%. So we divide that 17,000 by 100 and multiply it by 24, and we should get the same as we got last time. But let's just do it with the calculator. Let's just keep ourselves safe here. Might have made a mistake last time after all. Okay, for some reason I can't move the calculator. Let's just try this. £17,000 divided by 100 multiplied by 24, and we should get, £4,080. And again, that shouldn't be a surprise. That's what we had last time for this same calculation. You start to see now why this framework, why we said at the start, this can apply to in any situation, because it doesn't matter what this taxable pay figure is, you can apply this framework. It might be that you're not earning all of this money, and as in one of the examples we've done earlier, you're only earning part of it, but we know how to tackle that now. Anyway, so as not to confuse things, let's try and stay on track. So in this middle section, in our higher rate tax band, we are due £4,080 tax due. Okay, cool. So we know £740 is due here, £4,080 is due here, but we need to work out this bit here. Because we earn more than £24,400, we earn taxable pay of £25,600. How much money is in here? What's the difference between this figure and this figure? So if we're asking ourselves what the difference is, we're doing a takeaway sum. 25,600 take away 24,400, and I'm going to call up the calculator again. Let's hope we can move it this time. Oh yeah. So 25,600 take away 24,400 gives us £1,200. In other words, in here there's £1,200 which is in the additional rate tax band, and that's all going to get taxed at 40%. Okay, so £1,200 is going to be taxed at 40%. So we'll do 1,200, divide it by 100, and multiply that by 40. Get the calculator again. So 1,200 divided by 100 multiplied by 40 is £480. So the tax due in this section is £480. And that's the tax due. Okay, and that's that bit there. Excellent. So, what we need to do now is to add all those tax due amounts for each of the tax bands together to find the total tax bill. So, let's just remind ourselves what those were. We had £480 in the additional rate, we had £480, £480 additional rate, £4,080 in the higher rate, and £740 in the basic rate. So let's add all of those together. So 480 plus 4,080 plus 740. Put my pound signs in, it's good practice. Equals, let's get the calculator. Oh, sometimes the calculator doesn't move. 480 plus 4080 plus 740, that's the numbers that are hidden by the calculator, £5,300. So we have a total tax bill of £5,300. Okay, so we've got one last bit to do then, and that is question 2. We've got to work out what Tom's net monthly pay during that year was, and we've got to provide the answer to the nearest penny. We've worked out his tax, we know what that is, we've now got to work out what his monthly pay is. So let's talk about what net pay is first of all. Net pay is simply the pay that you get in your hand after any deductions have been taken off. Now deductions for the purposes of our question are basically the taxes. In real life there are sometimes more than that comes off, things like national insurance and things like that. But for the purposes of our question, our total deductions are just the taxes that we have just worked out, and that was £5,300. To find net monthly pay, all we need to do is just divide the net pay by 12, okay? So let's find out what his net pay is first of all. Now to do that I'm going to have to go back to the original question, so just bear with me. The original question is here, okay? Remember that Tom earned £30,200, so keep that in your mind, £30,200, and we know we've worked out that his tax was £5,300. So what we need to do is work out what his net pay is, and that is simply his earnings, £30,200, take away his tax bill. Okay, so if we do that, what we'll find, we'll get the calculator up, what we'll find is that it's 30,200 take away the 5,300, and his total net pay is £24,900. So I'll write that in here, £24,900. Now that's his net pay. That's his total earnings, take away his tax. Okay, so to find out what the monthly net pay is, we just divide that figure there by 12. So 24,900 divided by 12. Let's get the calculator up again. Move it to the side so we can see what we're doing. Sometimes it just doesn't want to move. 24,900 divided by 12 tells us that his monthly take-home pay is £2,075. £2,075. So we've now answered both parts of the question, okay? The first part of the question, or the first question, was what is his total tax bill, and we worked that out here. His total tax bill was £5,300. And the second question was what was his net monthly pay, and we know it's £2,075. So remember, to find his total net pay, it was just his earnings, which were given in the question, take away the tax bill. And if you're getting confused thinking, yeah, but what about that personal allowances thing? Remember, this figure is his total earnings, so that includes that personal allowance. And remember, he gets that in his pocket anyway. This figure, £5,300, is the tax worked out on his earnings without that personal allowance included. So this is the correct way to do it. Total earnings, take away the deductions, which is the 5,300. You get 24,900, divide that by 12, and you get his monthly net pay. And that's the question, that's how you tackle it. That's it, simple as that. Step 1, you subtract your personal allowance from the earnings to find your taxable pay. Step 2, you use the tax framework that you're given in the question to work out the tax due as per the tax bands. Step 3, you add all the bits of tax together to find the total tax due. In step 4, you subtract the total tax due from the earnings, and then you divide that answer by 12 to find his monthly net pay. And that is how you tackle these questions. But there is something you need to know. And don't worry, it's not going to affect you at all, okay? Everything can change, alright? When we look at these bits of information here, everything can change, so that what happens is the council might decide that you have a different personal allowance. For example, nowadays it's something like £11,000 of personal allowance before you start to pay tax. And similarly, these percentage rates here can change, as can the thresholds. So the whole thing can change, but you don't need to worry too much about it. It doesn't affect how you tackle the questions. You just use the information that you provided in the question. The reason for telling you this is just to make you aware that the government do change things to work out taxes, and so don't be surprised if you get different information in the question. If you get different figures here, that's quite common. So hopefully that has been helpful. Hopefully you now have an idea how you can tackle these questions, and remember, you can always watch this video again, go back, pause it at various places, and use it as you're working through the questions to help you master calculating tax. Hope it's been helpful, and thanks for watching. Bye now.